You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a life coach, Nancy can teach you how to stay strong under pressure and work through challenges you face. Being legally blind, Nancy inspires others to be resilient in overcoming obstacles and live full out. You can ask Nancy for advice in your life on relationships, finance, business, health, and more. Just call in at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. Now, here's Nancy.
Hello and welcome to the Living Full Out Show. My name is Nancy Solari, and today we're going to be talking about finding your purpose. Sometimes we realize that early on in our lives, but sometimes it takes a whole life to figure out what we're meant to do, why we're here. So stay with us and bring in your questions. We're going to be taking those calls, 800-333-0001. Also, we're going to be joined by our inspirational guest, Sarah Gray, coming up in our next segment. And her son, she had twins. Her son went on to pass away shortly after birth, but she donated many of his organs, and it's really interesting to see all the people that those organs help. So you want to hear that story. Truly, his little life, although it was only 6 days, had so much purpose to it. So I want you to be able to hear that and take those lessons to your own. Also, if you want to hear this show again, go to livingfullout.com. Click on the radio show tab. All of our episodes will be waiting there for you. Or if you have Alexa, you can check us out there. Or even in the App Store, just look for Living Full Out Radio Show and you can hear us on the go. So the thing is that I realize that tapping into our purpose is something that's not a snap, right? We really have to figure out, what are our passions? What are we known for? What are we good at? And then hopefully over time, we start to realize, where our ingredients of our life are, what that perfect makeup is. For me, I've realized over time that I'm a good listener. In fact, I would say many people would come to me and say, Nancy, gosh, I've talked to you for like a half an hour and you've said nothing about yourself. It's because I've realized that I like to listen. I like to hear people's stories and see how I can give advice. And so you want to figure out yourself, what is it that you need in your life, and be able to hone in on that and really live that life of purpose. And most of all, it's really important that you figure out, in terms of understanding your purpose, what do we need to do in terms of attaining that? It might mean that you need resources. Maybe you have to go back to school. Maybe there's organizations in your area that have different ways in which they can help you, and whether that's style and wardrobe or maybe, transportation, or again, further education, whatever that is. And also the supporters in your life, figuring out what that looks like. Who in your family, your friends can be there to keep you accountable. When you have those all in play, and you have that passion to boot, now you're able to bring yourself closer and closer to your purpose. Now, I'm getting word from our producer that we have a caller on the line. We're going to go say hello to them. Hi, welcome to the Living Full Out Show.
Hi, Nancy. This is Nichelle. How are you?
Well, I'm great, Michelle. Thank you for calling in. How can we help you today?
I have been unemployed for about 4 months. During that time period, I've applied for jobs and I've had a few interviews. One of the companies that I've interviewed with has contacted me for a second interview. And the chances seem pretty promising that I'll be offered a position. However, I recently found out that I'm pregnant. And I'm unsure if I should share that information during the interview, because I'm afraid doing so may lessen or eliminate my chances of a job offer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Any suggestions or your thoughts on whether or not I should share that information, or if I should just keep it to myself and hopefully I am offered the job, and once I'm in the position, at that point I'll divulge that information.
Well, first of all, congratulations on the pregnancy.
You.
Number one, let's celebrate that. Woohoo! Yay! That's a great thing.
It is.
But second to that, how far along are you?
I am.
Did you say
2 months?
You're 2 months. So, out of the spectrum of how, all this goes and when you'll actually give birth, there's many, many more months in there where you could be a contributor, right?
Okay.
It's not like you're accepting the job and having the baby tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that you would do everything you could to make sure that things are organized, in place, ready to go. you're going to have your bundle of joy, and then you're going to be ready to go back at it, after you've rested.
Right.
But I think that you don't really need to mention it today, like within the interview stage.
Okay.
Let them go ahead and evaluate you just for who you are, your skills, your talents. And if they say, yes, out of everybody we've hired, you're the one we want, then if you want the job, accept it. Then from there, give it your all, right?
Okay.
And think about in your mind that you want to go, a little overtime, right? A little extra effort, just because you want to make sure that when you do transition to your time where you need to take a leave, that things are organized, that you've really made it as easy for them as possible. And when you give them the news, I think you make it a happy thing. Listen, I'm so glad that I'm a part of this family and I'm growing my family. This is all so much going on at one time, but I'm going to make sure that you're all set. I'm going to make sure you're organized. And then I really look forward to coming back. I think just giving them that peace of mind that you will come back, I think that's the biggest fear when it comes to, hiring someone that might be having a baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. I'm assuming that is, fear for anyone, for any company. And two, I guess I was thinking in the back of my mind, they may be concerned with, even once I'm back, sometimes, your children may get sick and you may have to take time off for
yeah, but you know what? That could happen. That could happen to you. That could happen to me. It could be children, could be our parents who get older, right? Mm-hmm. So you don't want to be in the place of the what ifs. Don't be in that gray zone, right? Mm-hmm. Just deal with the here and the now. And the here and the now is that you're trying to get this job. Right. And deal with the future as it comes. Okay? Don't layer too much on you. Plus right now you need to be more stress-free. Okay?
Exactly.
So
yes.
Just be in the now, do your best, get the job, do your best in the job, and then the rest will fall in place. And the best thing you can do is when you do tell them, just communicate and calm their nerves that you will come back, that you like the job. Okay? Right. But if you do that, I know everything will work out great. And I really, congratulations, and I appreciate you calling into the show.
Thank you, and I appreciate the advice. Thanks a lot.
You're very welcome. Have a great day.
Thanks.
And there's going to be so much purpose ahead of her. Listen to that. Wow. New job, new baby. That is so exciting. Now, I'm getting word from our producer that we do have another caller on the line. We'll go say hello to them. Hi. Welcome to the Living Full Out Show.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi there. How can I help you today?
I just have a question. So a few months ago, I graduated with my bachelor's degree in communication media, and I'm currently working toward a master's degree in journalism. I've tried multiple times to get a job in the field I want and haven't had any luck. How do you suggest I go about getting the job that I would like to turn into a career?
Great question. And you know what? I'm raising my hand because I was there too. When I got my degrees in psychology and broadcasting, I knew I wasn't the only person with a psychology degree, and I'm pretty sure I wasn't the only person with a communications degree. But what you want to do is figure out what makes you unique and different. What is your USP, your unique selling proposition? So there's two things I want you to consider. Really figure out along the spectrum of all the other journalists, all the other writers, all the other people that may be out there, what makes you different? Okay. Secondly, I want you to figure out who might you be able to turn to, maybe by going on LinkedIn, maybe by going to some people in your community that you admire, and just calling them up and saying, hey, could I shadow you for a day? Or could I take you out for a coffee? Or maybe even just have a 30-minute phone call. Find out from them how they got to where they are. Because it's really about paying it forward. When people finally reach that pinnacle, their dream job or a job that they're proud of, they want to share that with someone like you. And you don't know that yet. They might say to you, well, yeah, I realized that I was getting a lot of no's, or I wasn't hearing back, and this is what I did. Or I realized in order for me to be competitive, I needed this piece of my education in play, and that's what I did. And I wouldn't just interview one person. I would make a list. I would literally go on LinkedIn, shoot for the stars. Even if somebody seems like they are out of reach, they're not necessarily out of reach. They might get your email and just really love that they can coach you and support you. Is that something you can do?
Yes, it is.
And the thing is most of all, like I said, believe in yourself. and figure out what makes you unique and different. And when you do that, then all the stars will align and you'll be off and running. Okay? Thank you for calling in. You got it. Have a great day.
You too.
And for everybody listening today, we're talking about finding your purpose. But I'm so glad that everybody is calling in because it's not easy. Sometimes we can't see what we need to change. And that is why the Living Full Out show is here to help you see where you can make adjustments so that you can thrive. It's all about finding our purpose today. Now, I want to make sure that you stay with us because in our next segment, we are going to be joined by Sarah Gray sharing her story about her son that went on to donate his organs. It's one you don't want to miss. Again, I am Nancy Solari. This is the Living Full Out show, and we'll be right back after this break. Stay with us.
Dad, this is fun. I didn't think I'd like kayaking.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, but I think it's time to head back in.
Okay. Can we come back?
Sure.
Tomorrow?
Let's check with Mom. Hey, be careful getting out of the boat.
It's a kayak, Dad.
I'm going to return the kayak. Let's make sure you have everything.
Yep. Can we walk home?
How about a taxi? 233 North Maple, please.
It's a short fare from your neighborhood to your naturehood. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a neighborhood park or green space near you. Also, find fun activities to do like boating and biking or camping and hiking, plus much more. It's all right in your naturehood.
Best day ever.
A public service announcement brought to you by the Ad Council and the U.S. Forest Service.
Don't you wish that getting your child to eat right, move more, and spend less time in front of a screen could be as easy as pushing a button? It might not be that simple, but you do have more power than you know. And you can maximize that power with proven strategies, tips, and tools from the National Institutes of Health's We Can, or Ways to Enhance Children's Activity and Nutrition program. We Can offers all kinds of resources, including fun recipes and activities the family can do together to show you the way to live a healthier lifestyle. We're not saying it's easy. We are saying that it can be done. Take the first step today. Call 1-866-359-3226 for a free We Can Parents Handbook. And be sure to visit the We Can website at wecan.nhlbi.nih.gov for free information too. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Today, my new dad and I shot off a rocket in the park.
Today, my new son and I failed to shoot off a rocket.
He knew exactly what to do.
I had no clue what I was doing.
We set up the rocket.
Hit ignition.
And then
nothing. Ha 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 ha. Sometimes I laugh when I'm frustrated.
Then out of nowhere, the rocket launched into the air.
The rocket did get into the air.
I've never seen anything fly so high.
And then crashed into a kite. Look out! Look out! And then the pond.
I'll never forget that day.
I'll never forget that day, even if I tried.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are. For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
When I was little, I didn't talk for a long time. I liked things to always be the same. Anything new or different would scare and upset me. I was very sensitive to lights and sounds. It was almost like I had bigger eyes and ears than everyone else. So I built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. I didn't like looking people in the eye. It made me feel uncomfortable. I'd throw big tantrums over little things like when my socks didn't match. Sometimes I'd do the same things over and over. Until one day, I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
You can see signs of autism in children as young as 18 months. Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. With Nancy's expertise, you'll learn how to embrace your potential and strive for success. If you have a question or need further support, send us an email at connect@livingfullout.com. Now, here's Nancy.
Thank you for joining us today. My name is Nancy Solari, and this is the Living Full Out Show. And today we're talking about finding your purpose. And sometimes that can be found within ourselves, like we tap into our own purpose. But other times it's the people in our life, the events that unfold, that really lead us to our purpose. And so our inspirational guest today is really a perfect example of that. I don't want to give her whole story away, but it was really her family and her son Thomas who led her to a life of purpose and a way to give back to others. So I'd like to welcome Sarah to the show.
Hi, Nancy. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And when I say I don't want to give your whole story away, because it's really a precious one, and I want it to unfold for the audience like I know it to be. And so I want you to share with our audience, let's take them back a little bit in time. And you had found out that you were pregnant with twins, which is over the moon exciting. I'm sure you and your husband were just thrilled and visions of your future and what that was going to look like. But then when you went back for an ultrasound at 12 weeks, you got some news that wasn't so thrilling. And what was that?
Yeah, it was devastating. The doctor explained to us that one of the twins was healthy, but the other twin had a fatal birth defect, and that was called anencephaly. And he could see that on the screen because the skull of the baby was compromised, and he could see instead of a nice round skull, it was bumpy, and that showed him that the skull wasn't formed properly in utero. And he said babies with this diagnosis typically die within minutes or hours of being born. So it was a birth defect we had never even heard of, and, obviously devastating.
Well, and Sarah, I'm sorry, because even though it's years later now, it never gets easy losing a child. And I'm curious at that point, what decisions had to be made? Because, I'm sure you had one idea that you could go the whole term of the labor and just kind of cross your fingers and see what happens. But did they give you alternative ideas also?
I want to go back to something that you said earlier. Thank you, first of all, for acknowledging the loss. And I think sometimes when you have a baby that dies or you have this kind of diagnosis, you feel alone, because I really didn't know that many people who had been through this. And it's kind of a taboo topic. Nobody wants to think about a baby dying. That just doesn't seem like the natural way of life. But now it's been 8 years, and I've met so many people who have had an experience like this. I really don't feel alone at all. And I do think that it's something that we should not be afraid to talk about, because, it can make people feel less alone. And it's really, babies have been dying before their parents for millions of years. And I think it's something that we should be okay talking about.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Absolutely.
Sure. So going back to your question, the choices that we had to make. So the doctor said that these twins were identical twins, which was so confusing. I thought he was wrong, because I thought, how could these twins be identical when they're so different? But it turns out they were genetically identical. So one sperm and one egg made, one cell that divided and became two identical babies. And he said that when it comes to selective reduction, that what happened to one baby would happen to the other. So he said the choice was to either carry through with the pregnancy and take it to term and just understand and expect that one of these babies isn't going to make it, or do a termination on both. It turned out later that that's not always the case. And in fact, we had another doctor that said a selective reduction is not only possible, but it's recommended, because if the sick baby were to die in utero, he could affect the blood pressure of the other baby and cause the healthy baby to die or have cerebral palsy.
Wow. So what did you ultimately decide to do?
We ultimately decided, we actually went in to have the selective reduction after the doctor recommended it. But because of some circumstances, my placenta had shifted. The doctor said it was no longer safe to do that procedure. So we just agreed to carry the pregnancy to term and just be emotionally prepared for what was going to happen.
Well, and in all of our lives, whether we're dealing with a financial pressure, relationship pressures, in your case, the pregnancy pressures, what got you through those really hard days? I'm sure there was a lot of crying. I'm sure there was a lot of conversations with God.
It was very stressful, but I mean, you can't function on that high level of stress every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't be full of adrenaline every day for 6 months. That would just wear you out. Yeah. So even though I had this level of stress in the back of my mind the whole time, I also had to have a healthy pregnancy. I had to have low blood pressure. I couldn't be stressed out. I had to find a way to calm myself down.
Mm-hmm. And the twins were born, right? What day were they born?
March 23rd, 2010.
Okay. And we only have a few minutes left here before we have to go to a break. But what I think is so great is they were both born alive. And you did get to hold Thomas. He was the one who passed away. Callum was the one who's still living today. But Thomas is the one that passed away. You did get to hold him for just a brief time while he was still living. And how did that make you feel?
I was grateful. I mean, he actually lived for 6 days, which is a lot more than we expected, but I was grateful to have that time.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's really amazing because, a purpose can come in many levels, right? You and your husband were a family before the twins came, right? And that there's a lot of purpose in our singular life, our couple life, our family life. But in that moment, did you feel like things were changing for you as a person?
Not at that moment. I was just kind of dealing with, a lot of grief and so many changes happening at the same time. But as the years went by, I sort of pulled myself together and dealt with the grief in sort of a unique way.
Mm-hmm. And, when we come back, because we're going to take a break, one of the things that I think is really interesting is, you've gone on to celebrate both of your sons' lives in different ways. And when you held Thomas, obviously, that was cherished time. But then you did obviously have Callum that was had its own struggles to live, but he was doing that. And were you able to somehow let go in the grieving process of, letting one son go, but really allowing yourself to dive into the son that was living, that needed you? I want to kind of talk about that when we come back, because you've experienced this grief in such a dynamic way that for our audience listening today, we would love those words of encouragement from you when we come back. Okay? And for everybody listening today, while Sarah is telling her story of her twins and losing one, Thomas, the thing is, in life, we will all have losses. But even the losses can draw us closer to our purpose. You just have to hang in there, put on that seatbelt, trust in others, God, universe, whatever you want to call it, but know that your purpose is coming. We'll be right back after this break. Stay with us.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari.
There are many sounds in your day-to-day life. There are sounds that wake you up. Sounds that make you smile. Sounds that energize you. And sounds that help you relax. But there are some sounds that can alert you to danger and can help save lives. Wireless emergency alerts, now on many mobile devices, use a unique sound and vibration to bring you information about severe weather events, Amber Alerts, or other emergencies in your area. With critical information from local sources you know and trust, you can be in the know, wherever you are. For more information, visit ready.gov/alerts. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hello, my name is Jeffrey, but people in this town call me Maniac. They call me that because I'm the fastest runner in town. But just because everyone knows who I am doesn't mean I belong. I don't really belong anywhere. You see, I'm an orphan and I wander the streets just looking for a place that I can truly call home. My name is Maniac McGee and I'm all alone. Explore new worlds. Read my story in the novel Maniac McGee by Jerry Spinelli. For other great book ideas, visit your local library or log on to literacy.gov. Brought to you by the Library of Congress and the Ad Council.
Look for the bare necessities.
The bare necessities of healthy living are easier than you think.
You better believe it.
And the food pyramid shows you the way. With just the right amount of exercise and the necessary grains, vegetables, fruits, milk, and meats and beans.
Just the bare necessities of life.
So eat right, be active, and have fun.
Yeah, man.
For your own path to a healthier you, visit mypyramid.gov.
This is really living.
This message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Agriculture and the Ad Council.
Hi, my name is Nancy Solari, host of the Living Full Out Show. I am excited to let you know that we are now associated with Alexa. If you have Alexa in your house and you didn't know that, go ahead and find Living Full Out because you can hear us anytime you want, and we're there for you to keep you motivated. Go to your app store because we're located there as well. Just look for the Living Full Out radio show. It's important to us that we put out really inspiring programming, but we want to make sure that you have it at your fingertips when you need us most. We never know when those challenges are going to come, when we're going to feel lonely and need that motivation. So just know that when you need us, we're here for you. Check out Alexa, the app stores, or go to livingfullout.com. Here's to you living full out.
What if I could tell you that a full-blown wildfire was going to occur tomorrow right where you live? Tell you exactly which neighborhoods it would engulf and how fast it would do it. The first thing you would do is talk with your loved ones and make a plan today. It's true, I can't tell you a wildfire will strike tomorrow, but shouldn't you make a plan anyway? Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait, communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a life coach, Nancy can teach you how to stay strong under pressure and work through challenges you face. Being legally blind, Nancy inspires others to be resilient in overcoming obstacles and live full out. You can ask Nancy for advice in your life on relationships, finance, business, health, and more. Just call in at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. Now, here's Nancy.
Thank you for joining us today. My name is Nancy Solari, and this is the Living Full Out Show. And today we're talking about finding our purpose. And we brought you an inspirational guest today that I think really showcases how to find your purpose in such an excellent way. After giving birth to twins, she lost one of her twins, Thomas, and she and her husband had expected it. But you never quite expect how you're going to get through that grieving process and how you're going to remember the life of someone who has been lost. So I'd like to welcome Sarah back to the show so we can pick up on her story. Hello, Sarah.
Hi.
Hi. So I know that while you're at the hospital, I want to bring this kind of dynamic in. You know, Callum, the son who's still living today, you know, he was in the NICU. He has his own struggles. You know, Thomas lived for 6 days, but obviously that was a gift. Every day counted, but you knew that, you know, he was going to be passing. And at the same time, you needed your own blood transfusions. You were struggling to stay alive and stay strong. And when you have so much going on at one time, which I know a lot of our listeners have encountered in their own ways, how did you manage that grieving period? How did you find the strength?
That's a good question. I guess sometimes you have no choice, so you just do it, right? Like, I didn't go through all these struggles because I wanted to. They were just thrown at me, and, sometimes you go to sleep at night and you just wake up the next day. You may be disappointed that you woke up the next day. You think, I have to keep doing this, but, just keep on putting one foot in front of the other. I try to find ways to laugh again with my family, and just try to remember my old self as much as I could, and reconnect with my family and friends. And
I
have them there for me.
I love that advice. Finding, being in touch with your old self. I love that, because just because you went on and you got married and you had kids, who was Sarah before all that? What made her laugh? What made her excited?
Right.
And I think that's really a great lesson that you just gave us, and we can all take that to heart. Now, I know that prior to the twins being born, knowing that Thomas was only going to live for a short time, you already made arrangements that you were going to donate whatever could be. And so when the time came that he passed, and I know they really couldn't take those donations until that time, what did you find out in terms of where his organs went, and what did they end up being able to use?
So I got a call the next day. So when you do an organ, eye, or tissue donation, it has to happen very quickly after the death has occurred. And he died at home, but we called the organ procurement organization. They sent a van to our home and picked up his body right away, took him to the local hospital. And I got a call a few hours later in the morning to say that they were able to recover his eyes and his liver. And we had also previously donated his cord blood to a study to help find out why he had anencephaly.
That's so amazing. And what I think is further amazing is they were able to take all those organs, but at the same time, you went on to have an open casket funeral. You were able to see your little boy again.
Yeah, I learned a lot of things about organ donation. It was my first time. But yeah, we did want to have an open casket funeral. I think for a lot of people, you sort of don't believe that your loved one has died until you see it with your own eyes. And it is an important part of the grieving process and the acceptance. And he looked beautiful. He looked absolutely fine.
Now, later on, you were in Boston, and you were wondering, gosh, what happened to all that got donated? Where did that research go? And you actually had the opportunity to go to Harvard. You got to go to these various schools over time and find out what had happened. Where did all the organs go? How did they use that research?
It was incredible. So I was a bit disappointed that his organs his donations were too small to go to transplant, which was really the only thing that I knew about. But they said that there were some scientists that were needing these sort of specimens to do research, so we donated to scientists in a lab. So when I was in Boston, I remembered that his corneas were at Harvard, and so I called the Scapin's Eye Research Institute at Harvard. I explained who I was, and I asked if I could just have a tour of the lab and just learn more about where his donations went, and they were able to accommodate my request. And it was amazing. I mean, I met one of the scientists that requests corneal tissue, and he explained to me some of the studies that were happening, and they said that they only request about 10 pairs of corneas a year, and it's very rare to get infant corneas. And he even eventually gave me a copy of a study that maybe had occurred because of Thomas's donation, and it was an extremely important donation.
Did that feel a bit full circle, being able to kind of get some closure there, knowing that
absolutely.
His organs went out there, but not knowing where, and now you finally knew what happened and how they were used?
Oh, it was such a great feeling. It was a weight off my shoulders. Also, like, the grief had sort of felt like a heavy stone in my chest. And once I met this man at Harvard, and the team there was so generous and kind with me. They said, "We'll never forget you, and please stay in touch with us." That stone in my chest, it almost just felt like it softened, and it's like I could breathe again. And I didn't realize how much I needed to know until I knew. I thought, wow, why do I feel so much better now? I guess I've been wondering this whole time.
Well, I think it's very interesting in life. We don't know what's coming, right? There's all those unexpecteds, and we just have to keep walking forward, step by step, even through the times of grief, like you did. Mm-hmm. But then answers will come from here, from the right, from the left, right? Unexpectedly, you'll start to kind of connect the dots. And really, recently, you even were able to connect more dots for yourself. Because looking back in the hospital, when you were fighting for your life, you had people giving you blood transfusions, and you always wondered, who were those people? How did you find out those answers?
Well, as I was writing my book, I got copies of my medical records. And I noticed that I had blood donor ID numbers with all the transfusions I got. So I got transfusions. I lost about half the blood in my body, and I would have died if it weren't for blood donation. And I saw these numbers, and after going through my experience of donating my son's organs, I realized, like, every one of these numbers is a person. It's not just a number. It is a person who has a story, who made an effort to donate blood to a complete stranger one day. And I felt so touched that these people I don't even know care about my life. So I contacted the blood bank, and I said, these are my donor ID numbers. Is there any way I can express a note of gratitude to each of these people? And they did that for me. And I was able to meet 3 of my blood donors in person this year.
Wow. That is amazing. And I hope other folks who are listening today that you can follow these through. You can see where research goes. You can see, or perhaps one day meet who donates organs or even blood to you. To know that that's even possible, again, really touches me, because it keeps us all connected, right? Yes, we all live all over the world and all over this country in different places. But yet, when we do donate, when we do give back, there is a way for us to unite. And you were able to meet those people. Now, looking at your life, obviously, your son today who's living, Callum Thomas, obviously passed, but all the good research that came from his life, being able to write your book, to reflect on all that experience, being able to meet the people who donated you blood. When we're talking about purpose today, what do you think has been the purpose of your life?
I'm still confused by life, and I'm just trying to figure it out like everybody else. But I was gratified that, something that was confusing to me, I can make less confusing for someone else. And there have been more donations since I shared my story. So I know for a fact that sharing my story, my son's story, has had an impact on more more bereaved families, more scientists, and has helped medical advancements. So, just being able to have that impact is good enough for me. I'm delighted that I was able to do that. But yeah, who knows? There will be another purpose next year. There'll be another purpose 5 years from now. There'll be another purpose 10 years from now. But so far, so good.
Your arms wide open for those purposes to come your way. We just have a couple minutes left. I just want to ask you, so with our audience that is listening today, you've gone through grief. You've come out the other end, and you've made purpose out of what you encountered. And what advice would you give to somebody today who has that heaviness in their heart like you had, who may feel like, I don't know how I could ever make purpose out of this? What would you say to them?
For me, it helped to reach out. There's some groups online for bereaved parents and people who have had a child with anencephaly, and it helped me to reach out to others online and meet complete strangers, but people who had been through exactly what I had been through and who were willing to talk me through it and explain how they got through it, and just, be compassionate with me and, walk with me through it. So I had, a lot of friends who really couldn't relate to what I was going through, but just meeting people online in these support groups was really helpful for me.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because again, the world is big, and there's people who have walked our same walk. Not exactly, but similar. So thank you so much, Sarah, for sharing your story with us today, and we look forward to those future purposes. Make sure you share them with us. Okay, call on in. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
all right, bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. And for everybody listening today, we are talking about finding your purpose. And Sarah said it so great. She's like, I'm just figuring it out, right? So we're all just trying to figure out our purpose. But take today to really hone in on your passions, on how you might be able to support another person and give back. Or maybe what is it that you need? What resources, maybe online or in person, could really help you give you that extra edge, that boost, that motivation? Let today be the day that you think about that. And let tomorrow be the day that you take action on it. And of course, we are always here standing by to support you. Now, when we come back, we're going to be taking your calls. So again, today is all about finding your purpose. I am Nancy Solari. This is the Living Full Out Show. We'll be right back after this break.
Well, Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
What? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
The following message is about Medicaid and CHIP, free or low-cost health coverage for kids and teens. Enrollment is open year-round.
Hey, voice lady, give me the mic.
Okay.
Hey, DJ, let's switch up the music. That's better. So listen up, moms and dads out there. There are these programs called Medicaid and CHIP. They offer free or low-cost health coverage for kids. Things like doctor and dentist visits, prescriptions, and shots are covered. All the stuff that keeps kids like me healthy and in charge.
So, as you can tell, a covered kid is a confident kid. And it means confident parents, too. To learn more about affordable health coverage for your family, visit healthcare.gov or call 1-877-KIDS-NOW. That's 1-877-543-7669.
Yep, you could do something big for your family today because enrollment is open year-round.
This has been a message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
And Sophia.
They're going to jump out of trees. You can't stop them. They'll go down the slide head first. They'll make parachutes out of sheets. They'll balance on things that are impossible to balance on, like the back of a couch or a windowsill or a scooter seat. They'll run with sharp objects. They'll run into walls. They'll climb things that won't hold their weight. They'll put their fingers in places where they could get smashed. They'll drive their tricycles down steep hills. They'll bounce balls off their faces. They'll step on each other. They'll jump on each other. They'll invent whole new ways to put themselves in jeopardy. But one of the most dangerous things kids will do happens while they're sitting perfectly still. Kids who ride in a car without a booster seat are much more likely to suffer serious or fatal injury during a crash than kids in boosters. But amazingly, 80% of all kids who need them aren't in them. After a toddler seat and until they're 4'9", booster kids, and don't let them down.
Go to boosterseat.gov to learn more about the importance of boosters. A message from the U.S. Department of Transportation and the Ad Council.
Have you ever lost a cat? And have you ever wanted to get your cat back after you lost it? I'm Andrew Hoffman. I invented the Lost Cat Magnet. Just turn it on and lost cats stick to it. Just listen to one satisfied cat. That's proof. You should invent stuff too. But remember, don't do a lost cat magnet.
Anything's possible. Keep thinking. Get started on your own inventions or just play some games at inventnow.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, the National Inventors Hall of Fame Foundation, and the Ad Council.
We are your pets, and this song's dedicated to those people who don't have health insurance yet. Enroll, we say. We want you to be okay. Enroll, we say. Take care, people, for goodness sake.
Health insurance is now affordable and covers prescriptions, hospitalizations, and preventive care. Visit getcoveredamerica.org to learn more.
And take care, people.
Brought to you by Get Covered America and the Ad Council.
When finding your purpose, you always want to consider what are those passions, what are those interests that you have. And remember that life is going to unfold. You just want to keep your eyes and ears open to what is possible. A purpose can be a grand gesture. It can be starting your own business. It can be having a family. Or you know what? It can just be being remembered as a good friend. Set high expectations, but also realistic ones.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. Nancy is here as a guide to show you how to rise above obstacles and savor each moment. If you have a question, call in live at 800-333-0001. That's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Welcome back. I'm Nancy Solari. This is the Living Full Out show, and today we've been talking about finding your purpose and what the road to doing that looks like. Well, it's going to be different for everybody, and sometimes we'll figure it out right away. Other times it may take our whole life to really zoom in on, what we're meant to do and what we're known for. And that's okay, because living full out is about the life experiences that we take in. Now, I'm getting word from our producer that we have a caller on the line. We're going to go check in with them. Hi, welcome to the Living Full Out show.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for calling in. How can we help you today?
So my parents divorced about 7 years ago, and I've maintained a close relationship with my dad, but he's about to move away to a couple states, and it's kind of just giving me anxiety, and I'm worried that our relationship might not be as great. So what can I do to make sure my relationship stays close with him?
You know what? I love that you're asking this question. Not that you're going through it. I don't love that you're going through it, but I'm right there with you. My parents divorced when I was 10, and my mom moved us out of state. So my dad lived in Washington State. We lived in Oregon, and there was that distance. So I hear you. I'm with you on that. And what I have found, and my father has now passed away, so I can kind of look backwards at the whole, decades of our relationship. I found that it really helped to stay connected and have kind of like our night that we talked. We talked every Sunday night. And I could count on that. I knew that, he would be with me. We would talk for anywhere from half an hour to even an hour. And that was our time. Sometimes we would even just sit there and kind of watch sports together on TV or go online if I needed him to look up something or I wanted his advice. So I would pick a day or a night and set aside some time that you can both commit to. Also, I found that going on a trip together was really helpful. And I have 2 other sisters, and I wanted a trip just him and I alone. So once a year, he and I went somewhere and we did something. And I really treasured that time because it wasn't that I had to share it with my sisters. It was time that I could get to know him. What was growing up like for him as a boy? Our family came from Yugoslavia. What was that like? And you too want to kind of figure out, how can you build those memories? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, a little bit.
What would be an ideal relationship? What would that look like?
I think, like you said, just sharing something, sharing an experience, we've been watching sports. He always loves watching me play soccer, so I think something like that would really benefit. But I think just making sure, he's someone I can still look to, in times of need and, be someone who I get love and support from.
Have you told him that?
I have not, no.
Okay, so that's what you want to tell him. Because here's the thing, nobody is a mind reader. And also, he's going to want to be there for you, but he may not know how or what you need. So I would absolutely tell him that in person and just tell him, the vision for how you see your relationship being. And although he's moving away, honestly, we could all move in different locations, right? It just happens to be that he's moving away, but maybe years down the road, you will move away somewhere, right? So we're always moving. So don't attach the fact that he's moving away like he's leaving you, because at some point you might move somewhere new, right? And that's just life. Okay. So consider that. But yeah, I would think about things that you have in common, or places that you maybe wanted to go together, like bucket list items. Maybe come up with a father-daughter 5-list bucket list that you're going to do, one a year type of thing. And if there is a sporting event, take some time. Say, hey, let's watch it on TV together. Hey, he can have a beer, you can have whatever, a glass of water or whatever, and just watch the game together. You don't have to be in the same room. Is that something you can do?
Yeah, I think definitely. I really like that idea. I never really thought of that.
And I think if you just have that dedicated time, then you won't feel as though you're missing out, because you're not. You have it. You have it by phone when you want it. You have it in person when you plan for it. But most of all, and put your hand on your heart and make me a promise. Say, I promise to share with my dad what I told Nancy today, of how I want to spend time with him, and I want to be able to turn to him whenever I need. Okay? Because any father, any mother would love to hear that. Okay? I promise you. So thank you so much for calling in, and we wish you a great day. Thank you.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. And for everybody listening today, it is about finding our purpose, but it's about building those relationships along the way, creating memories, going after life in a big way, and just letting all that string together, connect together, and that is going to be how you're going to find your purpose. So thank you so much for listening in. The entire Living Full Out show is dedicated each week to supporting you. Go to livingfullout.com to hear more of our shows. And here's to you living your life full out. See you soon.
Thank you for listening to the Living Full Out Show with Nancy Solari. To learn more about this program, visit livingfullout.com for the latest episodes. Connect with the Living Full Out community by following us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and subscribing to our YouTube channel. If you have an inspirational story you want to share, email us at connect@livingfullout.com. Here's to you, living full out.